Greatness is not an announcement. It is not a moment of sudden applause or a headline or a visible medal. It begins quietly, often in solitude, in the hours when no one is watching. It is forged in the repetition of small, intentional actions repeated when there is no external pressure, when there is no immediate reward. The hidden path to greatness is one of consistency, of trust in the process, and of patience with yourself. It asks you to commit to the unseen labor, knowing that this is where the foundation of mastery is built. To walk this path, you must first embrace the invisible nature of progress. Early victories are rarely recognized by others. They exist in your discipline, in the choices you make when no one is observing. Waking before comfort tempts you to linger, completing tasks even when motivation wavers. Saying no to distractions that would fragment your focus. These acts accumulate silently, quietly forming the scaffolding of extraordinary achievement. Your challenge is to honor them, even when the world does not notice, because their true value lies in the impact they will have over time. Consistency is your ally on this journey. One act repeated daily carries more power than one grand gesture performed sporadically. Just as water shapes stone through persistent flow, so too does your daily effort shape skill, character, and momentum. Small actions, seemingly insignificant in isolation, compound into extraordinary outcomes. Each morning you rise with purpose. Each hour you dedicate to focus. Each disciplined choice you make. These are the bricks in the structure of greatness. Patience is equally crucial. The hidden path is often invisible because results do not arrive on our timetable. Growth is quiet and it often looks like stagnation at first. You may not see the change immediately in the mirror, in your work, or in external recognition. This is where trust becomes your most vital companion. Trust that each disciplined effort contributes to something larger, that each repetition strengthens your foundation, and that persistence, though unseen, is shaping your future. Patience is not passive. It is an active engagement with the process, an unwavering belief that effort over time produces mastery. The path also requires awareness and reflection. Notice the small shifts in your capabilities, the subtle improvements in focus, endurance, or understanding. Celebrate these moments privately. They are the markers of real progress. Keep a journal, track habits, and note incremental achievements. This is not vanity. It is a tool to remind yourself that the work, though invisible to the world, is visible to you. Your awareness becomes a compass, keeping you aligned with your long-term goals, even when external validation is absent. Discipline and self-mastery are the currencies of the hidden path. They allow you to choose long-term benefits over short-term comforts, to persist when energy falters, and to maintain focus amidst distractions. Mastery is not measured by bursts of effort, but by the regularity and quality of your choices. By cultivating discipline in the small, unseen moments, you create a life that aligns naturally with your ambitions. The small, consistent actions that no one notices are the ones that eventually command attention in the world. Another essential aspect of this hidden journey is resilience. The road is often lonely, and setbacks are inevitable. You will face days when motivation falters, when fatigue or doubt creeps in. These are not failures. They are opportunities to reinforce your commitment, to practice patience, and to strengthen your inner resolve. Each time you rise above inertia, each time you continue despite discomfort, you fortify the structure of your potential. Resilience ensures that the hidden path remains a steady progression toward mastery, not a detour into frustration or abandonment. Ultimately, the hidden path to greatness teaches you that true progress is internal first, external later. It begins with quiet acts of focus, integrity, and patience. It unfolds in routines that honor growth over applause, and it rewards those who continue faithfully when recognition is absent and when results are yet to materialize. By embracing the invisible work, by trusting the process, and by moving with patience and discipline, you step onto a path that few recognize but many eventually admire. The truth about mastery is subtle. It does not announce itself with grand gestures or sudden victories. Instead, it grows quietly, nurtured by small, deliberate actions repeated day after day. These are the moments when no one is watching, when progress is invisible, yet they hold the power to transform your life. It is not the occasional surge of energy that shapes greatness, but the tiny, consistent choices that compound over time. Every effort, no matter how small, is a seed planted in the soil of your future. Consider the power of small steps. A single page read each day may seem insignificant, yet over months it becomes a library of knowledge. One extra minute of focus on a task might feel negligible, but over years it multiplies into mastery. A simple, consistent habit, repeated silently, can yield results that appear sudden and extraordinary to the outside world, yet are the inevitable outcome of patient, consistent action. The quiet work accumulates in ways that no one else can measure but you. Many people chase large gestures, looking for a dramatic leap forward or a visible achievement, yet these surges of effort are fleeting. They are like lightning strikes, brilliant but brief. Without consistency, without follow-through, they fade into memory, leaving little impact. In contrast, small, steady actions create a current strong enough to carry you forward. They are the droplets that eventually carve canyons, the grains of sand that shape mountains, and the minutes of disciplined focus that accumulate into hours of mastery. The key is understanding that effort is not measured by intensity alone, but by persistence. You do not need to perform grand feats every day. What matters is the choice to engage consistently, to honor the commitment you have made to yourself, and to move forward even when the result is not immediately visible. This mindset shifts your attention from outcomes to process, from instant gratification to long-term growth. You begin to see progress in the refinement of skill, the deepening of knowledge, and the strengthening of character. Small efforts also cultivate resilience. When you act consistently, you train your mind to stay focused despite distractions, fatigue, or doubt. You learn to embrace discomfort because you understand it as part of the process rather than a signal to stop. Each small success reinforces your confidence, while each small failure becomes a lesson rather than a setback. This cumulative strength, developed quietly and steadily, becomes the foundation upon which greater accomplishments are built. Another essential aspect is patience. The hidden work is invisible and slow to show results. You may plant seeds and water them without seeing sprouts for weeks or months. Yet this patience is part of the power. By honoring the daily, incremental efforts, you teach yourself to trust in the process, to believe that consistent attention, skillful practice, and disciplined choices will eventually yield the outcomes you desire. Growth is not an event, it is a rhythm, and rhythm requires time. By valuing small efforts, you reclaim control over your journey. You no longer wait for monumental moments or external validation to feel accomplished. Instead, you recognize that mastery is built in quiet, cumulative acts. A deliberate focus on tasks, an extra moment of reflection, a mindful repetition of skill, or a small decision to stay disciplined when temptation arises. These are the true markers of progress, the invisible steps that ultimately define achievement. Your challenge is to remain faithful to these small actions, to honor the work that seems insignificant, and to trust that it is shaping a larger outcome. Every time you choose consistency over convenience, effort over ease, or patience over impatience, you are building momentum, resilience, and skill. You are investing in the person you are becoming, even if no one else can yet see it. Discipline is rarely glamorous. It does not shine in headlines or appear in the applause of others, yet it is the backbone of achievement. The ability to show up day after day, without excuse, is what separates those who dream from those who realize those dreams. You may not feel motivated every morning, and the world may not recognize your effort, but showing up consistently is the bridge between intention and accomplishment. To build this discipline, you first need to understand its nature. Discipline is not a sudden burst of energy or a fleeting motivation. It is a daily decision, renewed every morning. It is choosing action over comfort, routine over chaos, and long-term vision over short-term distraction. Every day presents a choice to engage fully with your goals or to allow inertia to dominate. The choice to show up is where mastery begins. One of the most effective ways to cultivate discipline is through structure. When your environment and routines support your intentions, showing up becomes natural. Design your day with deliberate actions that guide you toward your purpose. Set clear priorities, establish rituals, and create a framework that minimizes reliance on willpower alone. Discipline thrives in predictable patterns because the mind no longer debates whether to act. It simply moves forward according to the structure you have built. Yet even structure is not enough if your commitment is fragile. Discipline requires self-trust, the knowledge that you will act, regardless of external validation. You learn to honor your own promises to yourself as though your future depends on them, because it does. Showing up consistently strengthens this trust. Each day you meet your commitments, no matter how small, reinforces the belief that you are reliable, capable of persistence. Another essential element is focusing on process rather than outcome. Too often we become discouraged when immediate results are not apparent. Discipline is not about instant gratification. It is about engagement with the process itself. By committing to consistent action, you create the conditions for progress, even when results are invisible. The act of showing up daily is itself a form of mastery, a declaration that you will continue regardless of immediate reward or recognition. Building discipline also requires embracing discomfort. You will encounter mornings when motivation has fled, when fatigue tempts you to postpone or avoid your responsibilities. These are the moments that define character. Each time you act despite resistance, you reinforce your capacity to pursue. Resistance is a signal of growth. Discomfort is a marker that you are stretching beyond previous limits. By consistently showing up, you train your mind and body to operate beyond the fluctuations of emotion or desire. Momentum, too, is a product of daily commitment. Each day you engage, even in small ways, adds to the momentum that carries you forward. Missing a single day may feel inconsequential, but repeated inconsistency erodes confidence and progress. By contrast, consistent engagement cultivates a rhythm, a steady pulse that keeps your focus, energy, and ambition aligned. Momentum is a quiet, accumulative force that multiplies with each disciplined choice, transforming small acts into significant achievements over time. Practical strategies support this discipline. Start with achievable commitments, actions you can complete even when motivation is low. Stack habits together so that small successes reinforce larger routines. Track your consistency to maintain accountability, and design your environment to reduce friction. Minimize distractions, create reminders, and anchor your efforts with rituals that cue your behavior. By making consistency inevitable, you reduce reliance on fleeting emotion and cultivate habitual engagement. Equally important is reflection. Periodically review your commitments and performance. Celebrate the days you met your obligations and analyze the moments you fell short without judgment. Reflection reinforces learning, highlights patterns, and strengthens self-awareness. Over time, these insights refine your habits and enhance your capacity to show up even when challenges arise. Discipline is not static. It grows as your self-awareness and strategic adjustments deepen. Ultimately, the power of showing up every day lies in its compounding effect. Consistent action repeated over weeks, months, and years accumulates into skill, confidence, and tangible results. Each day you honor your commitment, you silently declare that your growth, your purpose, and your goals matter. You build resilience, cultivate focus, and develop the quiet strength that carries you through obstacles, distractions, and fatigue. Progress is often invisible. You labor, you practice, you push yourself, and the results seem absent. It is easy to feel disheartened, to question the value of your effort when the evidence of improvement is not immediately apparent. Yet this is where true mastery lives, in the quiet accumulation of small steps, each one imperceptible on its own, but together creating an unshakable foundation. The key is to learn to trust the process, to recognize that consistent effort, even when unseen, shapes your growth more profoundly than dramatic bursts of action. Your mind is wired for instant gratification. You seek visible proof, immediate reward, and the satisfaction of measurable achievement. But life does not always operate on these terms. Many of the greatest accomplishments begin as invisible work. The hours spent honing skill in silence, the repetition that others never witness, the commitment maintained even when external acknowledgement is absent. You must shift your focus from the outcome to the action itself. There is power in the act of showing up, in the deliberate engagement with your craft, because this is the engine that drives long-term results. Invisible progress teaches patience. It asks you to step away from the need for instant recognition and instead cultivate a mindset that values the gradual shaping of ability and character. Each day you practice discipline, focus, and intention. You are building neural pathways that strengthen your skill and resilience. These connections are invisible, yet they determine the ease, speed, and quality with which you will perform in the future. By valuing process over immediate proof, you give yourself permission to grow without pressure, to cultivate a steady rhythm that endures long past the fleeting spark of motivation. One way to embrace invisible progress is through reflection. Record your efforts, not only your achievements. Write down the hours you invested, the challenges you faced, and the small adjustments you made. When results are delayed, these reflections remind you that growth is happening even if it cannot be measured in conventional ways. Each note is a proof of commitment, a visible marker of the unseen labor that forms the bedrock of mastery. Over time, these small entries will reveal a trajectory of progress that your mind alone might overlook in daily living. Another approach is to redefine success. Instead of measuring it by immediate outcomes, measure it by your engagement, your persistence, and your willingness to continue when the results are hidden. Success becomes the habit of consistent action, the courage to keep practicing when no one is watching, and the strength to maintain focus amidst distraction. By redefining success in terms of process, you create a resilient mindset that does not depend on external validation, but draws energy from the inner knowledge that effort matters. You also cultivate trust in yourself through invisible progress. Every day you act, even when results are delayed, you reinforce the belief that your effort is meaningful. You learn that the value of work is not only in its reward, but in the discipline, skill, and character developed along the way. This trust is crucial because it allows you to continue with confidence, to invest in your growth without fear of wasted time, and to remain undeterred by the absence of immediate acknowledgement. Finally, invisible progress compounds quietly, often unnoticed until it becomes undeniable. Skills sharpen, habits solidify, and your capacity for endurance grows. Then, one day, the world begins to notice, not because of a sudden miracle, but because your consistent, patient effort has transformed into results that speak for themselves. This is the paradox of mastery. The most profound changes often occur in silence, in the moments no one witnesses, yet they hold the greatest power. You will reach moments in your journey where progress feels invisible. The techniques you once mastered, the habits that once fueled growth, suddenly seem insufficient. Days blend together, and your results appear stagnant. This is the plateau, a place every person striving for excellence encounters. It is not failure, though your mind may try to convince you otherwise. The plateau is a necessary pause, a quiet interval where your efforts consolidate beneath the surface, unseen but critical. Understanding this allows you to meet stagnation, not with frustration, but with calm resolve. During these times, your impulse may be to accelerate, to push harder, or to abandon your path in search of novelty. Yet the plateau is not a signal to flee. It is an invitation to deepen, to refine, to observe your practice with heightened awareness. In stillness, you notice the subtleties you once overlooked, the small adjustments in your technique, the hidden strengths, the weaknesses waiting to be addressed. By embracing this pause, you transform a frustrating plateau into fertile ground for mastery. The first step in overcoming a plateau is patience. Recognize that growth is rarely linear. Your mind craves the satisfaction of visible progress, but true development often occurs silently, in micro-adjustments and repeated application. Each day that you continue your practice, even without immediate reward, you are laying bricks for the next breakthrough. Patience is not passive. It is an active choice to continue, to trust that your persistence is meaningful even when outcomes are delayed. Next, cultivate awareness. Use the plateau to examine your habits and routines. Where have you grown comfortable? Where might your methods be limiting further advancement? Reflection is your tool here. By stepping back and observing your performance objectively, you gain clarity on what is working, what is missing, and what can be improved. This awareness turns stagnation into actionable insight. You begin to see the plateau not as a barrier but as a map pointing towards subtle, necessary refinements. Adaptation is the third principle. While patience and reflection anchor you, adaptation propels you forward. Adjust your approach, experiment with new strategies, and be willing to challenge your assumptions. The plateau often exists because you have reached the limits of your current method. Change does not mean abandoning progress. It means enhancing it, layering new techniques onto a foundation already built. Adaptation keeps your journey dynamic, ensuring that even during stillness, your skills are evolving. Equally important is resilience. The plateau tests your commitment, your discipline, and your faith in the process. During these times, doubt can creep in, tempting you to abandon what you have worked so hard to build. But resilience is cultivated in the very act of showing up despite uncertainty. Each repetition, each mindful effort during a plateau reinforces your capacity to endure challenges and maintain focus. Your character strengthens even when your results seem to stall. It is also crucial to celebrate invisible victories. Every small improvement, even those imperceptible to others, is a triumph. Perhaps your focus has sharpened, your understanding deepened, or your endurance increased. These victories are the essence of mastery. They compound quietly until they manifest in dramatic growth. By acknowledging them, you reinforce motivation, build confidence, and remind yourself that progress is always occurring, even if it is hidden from plain view. Finally, embrace the plateau as part of your journey. Each pause, each period of apparent stagnation is a necessary stage of growth. Just as a sculptor must chip away patiently, the plateau is where your discipline, skill, and character are molded. By reframing these moments from obstacles to opportunities, you maintain momentum, honor your process, and prepare for the breakthroughs that inevitably follow sustained, mindful effort. Understand that the plateau is a mirror reflecting both the depth of your dedication and the limits of your current approach. By responding with patience, reflection, adaptation, resilience, and recognition of hidden victories, you not only endure the plateau, you harness. What seems like stagnation is in reality a rehearsal for excellence. Your growth continues quietly beneath the surface, accumulating until it bursts forth in measurable progress. You have likely felt the tension between consistency and monotony. You know the importance of repetition, yet there is a pull toward novelty, a temptation to skip what feels familiar in search of excitement. The truth is that every skill, every meaningful achievement is built upon repeated action. Repetition is not mundane, it is the forge in which excellence is tempered. Your ability to embrace this process without succumbing to boredom is what separates fleeting effort from lasting mastery. Repetition without boredom requires intention. When you perform the same actions daily, you must anchor them in purpose. Each repetition becomes a declaration, a conscious act toward a goal that matters to you. Without intention, the mind wanders and effort loses its potency. But when you connect the smallest daily task to the larger vision of who you wish to become, repetition transforms into a rhythm of growth, a cadence that carries you steadily forward. Mindfulness is the key to sustaining this practice. When you are fully present, even a simple repetitive task becomes layered with awareness. Consider an athlete practicing a single movement hundreds of times. The surface action appears identical, yet each repetition is subtly different. Adjustments are made unconsciously, alignment improves, timing sharpens, focus deepens. In the same way, when you engage in your daily disciplines with full attention, each repetition carries the potential for refinement, turning the familiar into a continuous learning experience. Variation within repetition is another tool to prevent stagnation. This does not mean abandoning consistency. Rather, it is the subtle modulation of approach that keeps the mind engaged. You might change the sequence, adjust intensity, or explore a slightly different perspective. For example, if your morning practice involves journaling, you might occasionally focus on gratitude, sometimes on reflection, and other times on planning. These variations maintain freshness without disrupting the underlying habit, ensuring that repetition remains both sustainable and meaningful. Reflection amplifies the power of repetition. After performing your daily actions, pause to observe what is changed, what feels stronger, what requires adjustment. Reflection allows you to see the progress that is otherwise invisible to the naked eye. It transforms effort into insight, action into understanding. You begin to notice patterns, strengths, and weaknesses you might have overlooked, making each subsequent repetition more intelligent and effective. In this way, repetition becomes a dialogue between action and awareness, steadily sharpening your skills and character. Discipline thrives in this space. The very act of showing up day after day, regardless of motivation, builds a foundation of reliability and trust in yourself. You learn that energy and inspiration are not prerequisites for action. Rather, action cultivates energy and inspiration. Each repetition reinforces not only the skill you are practicing, but also the resilience of your mind, the steadfastness of your character, and the certainty that your commitments are stronger than your fleeting whims. Finally, find meaning in the process itself. Mastery is not solely measured by results, but by the dedication to the act of doing. Each repetition approached with purpose becomes a testament to your commitment. It teaches patience, humility, and respect for the slow, methodical accumulation of excellence. The repetition that once seemed tedious now carries dignity, for it is the medium through which greatness is silently sculpted. Repetition without boredom is a skill in itself. It requires intention, mindfulness, variation, reflection, and a deep connection to purpose. When you master this, the daily grind becomes a source of joy and effort transforms into progress. You begin to understand that true power does not reside in excitement or novelty, but in the unwavering dedication to practice, honed with awareness and meaning. In a world obsessed with speed, flash, and immediate recognition, endurance becomes an underestimated strength. You are surrounded by those chasing short-term gains, bursts of inspiration, and the applause of the crowd, yet true progress does not demand noise, it demands presence. Showing up day after day, consistently and quietly, is the strategy that transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary results. The ones who endure will always outlast the ones who burn brightly and fade quickly. Endurance begins with patience. You must accept that meaningful outcomes take time, and that the climb is not always visible. The person who sprints at first fueled by adrenaline and excitement often finds themselves exhausted before the summit. But the steady walker, whose steps are deliberate, whose pace is measured, will arrive there unshaken. Your patience is not passive, it is active trust in the process. Each small action compounds, quietly building a foundation that no sudden burst of effort can replicate. Consistency is your companion. It is not enough to work hard sporadically. It is the rhythm of repeated effort that shapes skill and character. Each day you commit, each task you complete without fanfare, reinforces the resilience of your mind. You are not racing against the world. You are racing against time itself, letting cumulative effort accumulate silently. While others seek shortcuts or instant validation, your quiet persistence becomes a force that cannot be rushed or undermined. There is power in invisibility. When your actions are not driven by recognition or applause, they become freer. You are no longer distracted by comparison, by envy, or by the desire to impress. Instead, your focus is singular, progress. You measure success in small, tangible improvements, not in the fleeting approval of others. This solitude is not loneliness, it is sovereignty. You learn to command your own energy, your own discipline, and your own pace, regardless of what anyone else is doing. Endurance is also about resilience. You will encounter obstacles, fatigue, and setbacks, and it is here that the quiet strength of consistency proves invaluable. Others may quit when frustration rises, when results lag, or when the journey feels endless, but your steady presence, your refusal to abandon your commitments, turns adversity into training. Each challenge becomes an opportunity to fortify patience, to refine technique, and to deepen your resolve. The ones who last are often those who simply refuse to stop, even when the world seems indifferent. Time is your ally. While others chase the illusion of speed, you accumulate the unglamorous, invisible victories that compound silently. The hours, days, and weeks of disciplined effort create momentum. Just as water shapes rock, not by force but by persistence, your continual dedication carves a path through the challenges that daunt others. You begin to see that endurance is not merely about resisting fatigue, it is about harnessing the quiet power of time to your advantage. A critical part of outlasting others is self-regulation. You cannot rely on bursts of inspiration or transient motivation. Instead, you cultivate habits, systems, and routines that carry you forward regardless of mood or circumstance. This self-mastery ensures that effort is consistent, predictable, and sustainable. Your energy is preserved, focused, and directed, while others dissipate theirs in reaction to every distraction or temptation. Finally, humility and invisibility magnify the impact of endurance. When you pursue goals quietly, without announcing every move, your success eventually speaks for itself. Others may wonder how you achieved what seemed impossible, and the answer lies in the unremarkable repeated actions performed with unwavering dedication. Your consistency outlasts trends, fads, and fleeting enthusiasm. In time, your quiet persistence becomes a standard of excellence that cannot be rushed, replicated, or overshadowed. Understand this. Endurance is not about being the fastest, the loudest, or the flashiest. It is about sustaining effort when energy wanes, continuing when results are unseen, and moving steadily when the world is distracted by the next distraction. Those who last quietly, who show up every day with discipline, focus, and patience, eventually surpass everyone who relied solely on bursts of brilliance. Time reveals the power of persistence, and those who master it quietly become unstoppable. Every day you face a torrent of tasks, decisions, and distractions. On the surface, these moments may seem disconnected, even trivial, but beneath them lies a hidden potential, the opportunity to link each action to a larger purpose. When effort is untethered from meaning, it feels exhausting and hollow. When it is anchored to purpose, every small motion becomes a spark, every decision a brick in the foundation of your vision. Purpose is the compass that keeps you steady when external noise grows loud. Without it, even the most disciplined routines can falter. You may wake early, exercise, plan, and tackle tasks, yet feel no momentum if your efforts lack alignment with a personal mission. Your mind needs a reason, a tether that connects each act to something greater than immediate reward. Without this tether, fatigue accumulates, motivation wanes, and the noise of daily life threatens to scatter your energy. Begin by defining your core mission. This is not a vague aspiration. It is a clear, compelling objective that resonates with your deepest value. Ask yourself, what do I want to create, contribute, or become? What principle or vision will guide my steps when doubt arises? When your mission is clear, even repetitive or small actions gain an invisible weight. They no longer feel like chores. They become deliberate movements toward your personal summit. Once purpose is identified, map your daily actions to it. Each task, no matter how minor, is an opportunity to reinforce your vision. Making your bed in the morning is not just tidying a room. It is a practice of discipline that signals commitment to order and control over your environment. Writing a paragraph, responding to an email, or completing a simple work task are not isolated events. They are threads woven into the fabric of your broader ambition. By consciously linking small efforts to your purpose, you convert repetition into progress, monotony into mastery. Consistency, when fueled by purpose, becomes sustainable. You no longer rely on fleeting motivation. Instead, your actions draw energy from the meaning they carry. Even when fatigue or frustration arises, the clarity of purpose provides momentum. You are not moving aimlessly. You are moving towards something tangible, something worth enduring the discomfort for. This clarity is a shield against distraction. When social media, interruptions, or external pressures beckon, you return to the mission, letting purpose filter what deserves attention and what can be set aside. Reflection is essential in this alignment. Daily or weekly pauses allow you to measure whether effort remains true to your mission. Without reflection, purpose can drift, leaving actions misaligned and effort wasted. Ask yourself, did today's choices reflect my vision? Did I prioritize what matters most? Did I act in a way that honors my long-term goal? These questions sharpen focus, reinforce intention, and create a feedback loop that sustains meaningful progress. Purpose also brings patience. When effort is aligned with vision, you understand that results are not always immediate, and that the journey itself holds value. The invisible work, practice, learning, preparation, builds strength, skill, and insight long before recognition arrives. You trust the process because you see how each action contributes to the whole. Temporary setbacks lose their sting, and moments of tedium transform into deliberate, essential steps in the path toward mastery. Energy management becomes clearer when purpose drives effort. You recognize which actions are aligned and which dissipate your focus. This discernment allows you to allocate time and resources more effectively. Instead of exhausting yourself with busy work or low-value tasks, you concentrate on the actions that move the needle, actions that carry the weight of your mission. Effort becomes intelligent rather than frenetic, strategic rather than scattered. Finally, purpose infuses joy into discipline. When your small efforts are tied to a meaningful vision, you experience fulfillment in the act itself. You wake with anticipation rather than obligation. Work, study, training, or practice becomes a medium for expression, a canvas on which you paint your progress. The alignment of action and purpose transforms ordinary days into chapters of a story worth living, where each effort, however quiet, echoes the intention behind it. In essence, invisible effort becomes unstoppable when anchored to a compelling mission. Purpose turns routine into ritual, repetition into refinement, and small steps into cumulative triumph. By connecting your daily actions to your vision, you move steadily, confidently, and resiliently through challenges. The world may not notice every step, but the alignment of your effort and purpose ensures that progress is happening, silently yet relentless. There is a quiet power in persistence. It is not flashy. It does not clamor for attention, yet it shapes lives in ways that are slow, subtle, and irreversible. Most people look for instant results, for visible evidence that effort is paying off. They grow impatient when progress is invisible, when their work seems to vanish into the void. But the truth is that mastery is rarely immediate. It is the cumulative effect of repeated action, of showing up when no one is watching, of refining and learning in silence. Each day you plant a sentence written, a step taken, a practice repeated. These are the grains of effort that over time take root. The world may not notice, and you may not feel immediate reward, but the process is occurring beneath the surface. Just as a tree grows unseen in its first years, the results of your quiet persistence gather strength silently, waiting for the right moment to emerge. The challenge is trust. It is easy to doubt, to wonder if your labor is wasted, if the endless repetition and patience will ever bear fruit. This is the test of character, the ability to continue regardless of external acknowledgement, to act consistently, because you understand that time magnifies effort. When you embrace this mindset, monotony becomes meaningful, and routine transforms into progress. You begin to see every action as an investment, a contribution to a future version of yourself that is stronger, wiser, and more capable. Momentum is the reward of persistence. Small, consistent actions compounded over time accumulate in ways that suddenly become undeniable. A skill that once seemed out of reach becomes natural. A habit that once felt burdensome becomes effortless. Opportunities that once seemed distant now appear as the natural consequence of steadfast effort. The key is that the work never stops, that patience accompanies your action, and that focus remains unbroken. You do not hurry the process, nor do you abandon it out of frustration. You persist quietly, understanding that momentum does not announce itself in the first moment. Reflection reinforces persistence. When you pause to observe your growth, even in small increments, you remind yourself of the value of accumulation. Track your efforts, note improvements, and recognize the subtle ways in which your consistency is reshaping your capabilities. These reflections anchor you, making it easier to continue even when immediate results are absent. The habit of reflection ensures that your persistence is intelligent, directed, and purposeful, rather than blind repetition. Persistence also builds resilience. Every setback becomes a lesson, every obstacle a calibration point. When you persist quietly, you learn to withstand the turbulence of life without giving in to frustration or distraction. You develop an inner fortitude that becomes invisible to the world but evident in the outcomes you eventually achieve. The compounding effect is not only skill but strength of character, an unwavering ability to remain committed even when recognition is absent. Eventually, the accumulation becomes undeniable. The effort that seemed invisible now manifests in results that cannot be ignored. Mastery reveals itself not as a sudden transformation, but as the natural outcome of countless small, disciplined actions performed with faith and intention. The world sees the result, but the journey that produced it remains hidden, a quiet testament to the power of persistence. By embracing this philosophy, you transform how you view action and time. You no longer chase immediate gratification. Instead, you trust that effort, aligned with intention and repeated consistently, creates a force more powerful than any single act. Every choice to continue, every moment you invest, compounds invisibly, building a foundation that no distraction or inconsistency can dismantle. In the end, quiet persistence teaches a profound truth. Greatness is not granted to those who are loud, impulsive, or impatient. It belongs to those who endure, who show up consistently, and who believe in the invisible accumulation of effort. The seeds you plant today will grow in their own time into a harvest that exceeds expectation. There comes a moment in your journey when the effort itself becomes a form of mastery. You no longer chase achievements with restless urgency. Instead, you move with the quiet assurance of someone who understands the cumulative power of their actions. Every choice, every task, every small deliberate step is an expression of the discipline you have cultivated. Mastery is not a title, not a single moment of recognition. It is the way you inhabit your days, the rhythm with which you rise, act, and reflect. Living as a master in motion requires integration. The lessons of patience, persistence, and focus are no longer separate exercises you practice. They have become part of your being. Your mind anticipates distractions but does not falter. Your body knows the movements that lead to progress without forcing them. Your spirit remains tethered to purpose, grounded in the understanding that the process itself is the reward. The small acts you once performed quietly, waking early, choosing deliberate focus, repeating routines with intention, have coalesced into a seamless dance of discipline. In this stage, awareness becomes your ally. You notice the subtle shifts in energy, the moments when fatigue or doubt begins to creep in, and you adjust without judgment. You no longer resist these sensations, nor are you driven by fear of failure. Instead, you embrace them as signals, cues that guide your decisions with precision. The mastery you have earned allows you to act without hesitation, to make choices that align naturally with your long-term vision. Each day is no longer a battle against yourself. It is a continuation of the path you have carved, a rhythm established through years of patient work. The power of living as a master in motion lies in your ability to maintain consistency without rigidity. You have learned that discipline is not punishment, nor is it obsession. Discipline is freedom, the freedom to create, to grow, and to move confidently within your own design. You are no longer reactive to circumstances. You are proactive, shaping your environment and your habits to reflect the values and goals you hold most dear. This is the difference between fleeting effort and enduring mastery. The latter exists quietly, steadily, in every motion, every choice, every thought. Reflection at this stage deepens your understanding. You revisit the steps you have taken, the routines you have maintained, and the obstacles you have endured, not to measure success in traditional terms, but to recognize the invisible architecture of your growth. Each small victory, once unnoticed, now forms a lattice, supporting every subsequent choice. You see how the seeds planted in obscurity have grown into sturdy branches, how the repeated actions that felt mundane have become second nature, and how your life now reflects the sum of your patient commitment. Yet living as a master in motion is not about perfection. There is still learning, still refinement. Mastery does not claim that you have reached an endpoint, only that you inhabit a state of continuous alignment. You understand the value of your daily actions, and you allow them to guide your progress without forcing outcomes. Mistakes are not failures. They are adjustments, subtle corrections that improve the trajectory of your growth. This perspective transforms the way you move through life. Every day is an opportunity to refine, to focus, to persist, and to embody the rhythm you have cultivated. This rhythm, once invisible, now resonates outward. People notice not because you announce your achievements, but because the quality of your presence communicates consistency, competence, and calm strength. Influence emerges naturally from the alignment between your values and your actions. You have become a living demonstration of the principles you have applied: patience, persistence, deliberate focus, and the quiet accumulation of effort. The world cannot help but recognize it, even if it cannot measure every step you have taken along the way. Living as a master in motion also brings profound satisfaction. You are no longer chasing external markers of success or waiting for validation. The quiet joy of knowing that you have cultivated your life with intention is enough. The energy that once went into seeking approval is now directed toward meaningful action. Your time, attention, and focus are spent on what truly matters, the things you can shape, the choices you can make, and the momentum you can maintain. Ultimately, this chapter is the culmination of everything you have learned. Every habit, every repetition, every moment of persistence has led to a state where mastery is not a distant goal but the natural flow of your life. You are a master not because the world declares it so, but because you move deliberately, live intentionally, and act consistently. You have become the embodiment of the principles you have applied, quietly but undeniably shaping your destiny through motion, alignment, and purpose.